So everything is a completely different universe right now. Even if this moment is different by one hand movement and everything in the universe is the same, or even just one rotation of an atom or a subatomic particle, if there is difference whatsoever, it means that that moment is a completely 100%, even if everything else looks the same from the previous moment, it's a 100% new, completely distinct, parallel universe. So everything can look the same. Every atom, every subatomic particle can be in the exactly same energetic configuration as the previous moment. But if only one subatomic particle in the entire galaxy or in the entire universe is different, it means that all the other particles that look the same like the other ones are actually other particles. They're actually they're another dimension, they're another universe. And every moment is like that. Every change is a complete change. Every change is a 100% new, or not so much new from the timeless point of view, new from your point of view, universe. So change happens all the time. It is absolutely inevitable. It's the nature of reality. It is the only constant. Make sense so far? Cool. So everything changes. You can't hold on to anything. You can't hold on to a static identity. What you can do, and what many of us do choose to do, is to replicate things to look the same over and over and over again as they go into the new universes. So as they shift into different universes, they assume themselves to still be the same thing. They assume themselves to still have the same identity. They still assume themselves to have the same history and the same future. None of this is structurally accurate. You're always changing your past, and you're always changing your future, because you're always changing your present. And the future and the past are results, products, byproducts of your present orientation. Your vibrational orientation in the now will determine your past, and it will determine your future. Huh? Just accept it. Accepting knowledge like this is actually the quickest way to getting to understand it. Of course, feel free to be skeptical, but to accept it to some extent will allow it to actually work for you and change the way that you see things. So when you start to see things like I do, then things can change rapidly. Things can accelerate rapidly. You can change rapidly. You can accelerate rapidly. How is change established when it comes to circumstances? Anybody? Thank you, vibration. So change does not necessarily happen by me moving this glass from here to over there. That's a byproduct of me being already in the vibrational composition of energy, or the frequency overall signature that allows me to move my hand and do this, take this action. This is just a very simple example. But any change in your lives, whether it is from poverty to wealth, whether it is from no relationship to relationship, whether it is from not knowing clearly who you are to knowing clearly who you are, anything that you desire in your life, any change that you desire, any change that you're passionate about, these things are established not by doing, as many of you have probably recognized. The more you try to do, the more you try to act, the more you try to change your reality, the more it starts fighting back, even if it's something you really desire. Unless you have no belief systems or resistance towards the thing, then even being in the deed of action can seem like it's effortless. But for many people, when we try to change our circumstances and try to fix it to make it look the way we want it to look, if we're still within the same vibrational signature, overall frequency, then it doesn't matter what we do, because we're only fighting against our own vibration. So vibration is the precursor for any change. It's the most important step to take, is to understand your vibration. What does vibration mean? Well, in most basic terms, it's how do you feel right now? How do you feel right now? And there's subtlety to that. It's not just, well, ultimately it is just you feel good or you feel bad, like at the simplest level. But there's many ways to feel good. There's many ways to feel bad. There's many subtleties to each feeling. Not that you need to dissect these, but they will give you more insight into exactly why you're attracting the things that you're attracting, or exactly why you're struggling with what you're struggling. Usually when you can't quite find what it is that keeps generating a similar universe, even though you've shifted through billions of parallel realities, from that moment to the next moment of frustration, to the next moment of frustration, it is because you're taking something with you into the new universe that doesn't have to be there per se. It's an assumed sense of self, or it's an assumed assumption of what is possible, or it is an assumed belief in what you're worthy or capable of, or what is normal, or what is magical, or what is outside of the realm of the possible. So as soon as you bring an idea, a vibration with you into the new universe, then that new universe, even though it's 100% unrelated, structurally speaking, to the previous universe that you were in, even though it is completely independent from the other frames that you move through, you will bring with you the same experiences. You will bring with you the same circumstances. Now, this is what we do when we look at a collective level and we talk about warfare, we talk about drugs, we talk about financial problems, we talk about the economy collapsing, we talk about politics sucking, all that stuff. The more we continue to talk about that, the more we bring that with us into the next universe. The next universe is essentially completely empty. Now, it is filled with so many probabilities, and it's already filled with so many trajectories because there's 7 billion of us co-agreeing to be to some extent within each other's reality. Some very minimally so. But all to some extent we're part of the agreement called humanity. And so we are within a parallel collective reality of our own if we're human. Which means that there is 7 billion probable trajectories that are all outputting their energy into the next universe. And so there is a high probability as to what alternate universe will come next and come next and come next down our timeline. That's why certain predictions can be made from an intuitive, energetic point of view. It's because you can sense into the trajectory of all the vibrations that make up our collective. So based on these predictions, or based on these probabilities, how can we even further, which are quite good, they're hectic, and they're chaotic, and they're messed up, but they are quite good as they are. But how can we make them even better? How can we smoothen our journey as a collective? How can we make it easier on planet Earth? How can we make the transition easier on nature? How can we make the transition easier on our societies, on our relationships, as well as our inter-country relationships, international relationships? How can we make it easier in a way? Not that it has to, because it's kind of fun to see the economy collapse in certain ways. But how can we make it easier? How can we make it easier even on that system to sort of smooth itself, ease its way into a new way of being, into a new way of operating? Well, any ideas? Thank you. Emit, did you say emit? Yeah, emit. Be responsible for what we emit. Thank you. That's, in a nutshell, what I want to talk about. Because, as you know, changes are the result of vibration, and so we need to take responsibility. And responsibility has gotten a negative connotation, but it's actually a very liberating thing. When you take responsibility for the things you're actually responsible for, then all your assumed responsibilities drop away. So if you actually take responsibility, you actually start to feel free from your responsibilities. So how do you know whether you're taking responsibility? It's that you're feeling free from responsibilities. Does that make sense? Because when you take vibrational control instead of situational control, when you master your vibration, when you notice how you feel and you bring it back into alignment to the best of your ability, and you have a joyful attitude about doing so, you have an optimistic view on doing so, then it will be very easy for you to stay within a certain parameter of out of alignmentness. So you will stay very close to the center beam of light that penetrates your being, top down, which is the resonance track, the resonance beam of your higher self that you're always being close to or further away from. How do you know this? Based on how you feel. So how do you feel? How do you feel right now? Good. So then this experience is in alignment. The way that you're thinking right now, the excitement you might be having for your future based on even the past 10 minutes of me speaking, what that triggers for you might be in alignment if you're feeling good. If it feels really, really bad, then you might consider leaving the room, finding something that excites you more. Or maybe it does really excite you, but maybe you have a negative definition placed on top of it based on previous experience that you drag with you into this universe. Now you see, ultimately, this universe, the next universe, the next universe, and I'm talking not about years from now, I'm talking about the next nanosecond universe, this universe, this universe, this universe, this is next, this is next, this is next. Every next moment is completely clean, it's completely clear, it's a completely blank slate. It's a completely new canvas. If you take out of the equation, which we cannot really do, all the trajectories of all the beings that are part of this collective reality. But if you just take away the relationship aspect, the vibrational relationship aspect of the consciousnesses, the beings that seemingly inhabit the template that we call the world, and just see the universe as it is, if we would take ourselves out of the equation, that the very next moment, instead of having just 2 or 3 or 4 options, the very next nanosecond suddenly would contain all options, except for the ones that Mother Earth as a being itself would not agree to experience. But every other potential reality would be right there, right available. We could shift into that right the very next nanosecond if we take out of the equation the vibrational mess that we've generated. Does that make sense? In other words, the world is not to blame. The earth is not to blame. The time that we're in is not to blame. The technology that we've generated is not to blame. Even the people are not to blame. Spiritual teachers are to blame. For you see, it is their responsibility to educate. I'm not actually kidding that much. But of course, nobody is to blame. But we need an educational system that works. And I'm also talking about schools, but I'm not just talking about schools. I'm just talking about everyone. Planetary civilization needs to look like education, period. Meaning that it is a planet where beings come together to learn, to co-create, to enjoy, to be taught, to have teachers, whether from this dimension or from the next, depending on how open that civilization is. It can come in all kinds of forms and in all kinds of visitations. But imagine a planet where the standard is to come together to learn. And that's what you'd see. The buildings all around would be like places to come together to learn, to co-create, to be in joy, to expand, to empower oneself, to quote-unquote meditate and contemplate and enjoy life. We need to educate ourselves. We need to educate each other. There needs to be an effective, efficient system that teaches, step by step, every single person how to clean up their vibrational mess. And Trinfinity Academy is a beginning idea of this that we've manifested. But of course, we're looking to expand that greatly in different ways. So education is what's missing. Vibrational education. Enlightenment is what's missing. Nothing else is to blame, because as soon as this information is made available and as soon as there's a certain threshold, certain amount of people that start to live this way, it becomes so much easier for everyone else that might not be at the same level of IQ or intelligence able to grok these concepts, but they can go in the flow of the threshold that has been passed by the collective. Does that make sense? So it is up to all of you that have the privilege of sitting here, and it is up to me to take that responsibility, if you feel that calling, if you feel that honor, to disseminate your empowerment. How do you do that? Not by preaching, not by knocking on people's doors on Sunday morning, although that's fun too. It is by living as fully as you can. Okay, you need to be an example. Your radiance, the way that you're living, needs to be a natural question mark that's above your head for everyone else. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Wherever you go, whenever you give someone a smile, whenever you shake their hand, whenever you say something, whenever you introduce yourself, however you present yourself, in whatever way, people should be turning their heads, even if they don't know why. And not because you look good or you do this or you dress yourself in a certain way, but because of the way that you're being, because of what you're emitting, because of what you're sending out, you see. And you all know these experiences when you feel really, really genuinely good, grounded in goodness, grounded in happiness, solid, fucking solid. Whoever you meet, new or old, sees a question mark above your head and goes, who the fuck is this dude? Or who the fuck is this gal? Now, when you do that, it's the subtlest way to teach, but it's the most efficient way to teach. It's the most powerful way to teach because it will spill out into all the work that you're doing, into all the relationships that you're having. So cliche as it sounds, and limited perhaps as it sounds from a linear point of view, but to change the world, you need to take responsibility for your own empowerment. Is that enough? That is absolutely enough, because what do you do when you're happy? What do you do when you're overflowing? What do you do when you're ecstatic? You give. You give. You give, you create. You don't react, you don't take, you don't need. You give. You teach, you educate, you enlighten, you radiate. You rub off on everyone that you meet, and people that don't even know you, that never met you physically. You rub off on people vibrationally. If they're even slightly within the realm of being able to perceive and it being relevant for their soul journey here on earth as a being, to take from that vibration, they will, whether or not they realize that they are. And whatever you have been growing up with, whatever the challenges that you have as part of your makeup, those are your gifts to the world. Whatever trauma, whatever psychological difficulty you carry with you today, whatever obstacles, whatever struggle you're going through today, that is the gift you took on for the sake of planetary enlightenment. All of you, no exception. There are no selfish people on this planet at this time, whether they realize it or not. Each and every one that has been incarnating within the past 40, 50 years has as part of themselves, inevitably, and before that many as well, but 100% at this point. What? Oh, you just made it. You're like writing. No, well, every single person here, regardless of age. But generally speaking, out there, people that are just not really knowing what they're doing, 100% of them that are under the age of approximately 40 or 50 years old are here not just for their own purpose, but they're also here to serve the collective in this enlightenment age, whether they know it or not, whether they want it or not. Well, they want it, ultimately, but whether they realize they want it or not. So what I'm saying is that whatever psychological issues you might seemingly be dealing with, just know that you're not the only person dealing with that. And as you're dealing with that in the most conscious way, you're literally enlightening that darkness in the net of our collective, and that same area of consciousness which so many others around the world are hooked into, the same blueprint, the same area. You are being of service to, in many of your cases, literally millions of people, by making a shift in the solitude of your bedroom. So realize that you are spiritual teachers, and you are responsible. You are responsible for the stuff that you agreed to experience. You are responsible for whatever lingers in you today that no longer fits in with this new reality that needs to be looked at and transformed. This is what you want. This is why you're here, and this is your service. Nobody may ever know about it in many of your cases, but you can know about it. And everyone else hooked into the same area of consciousness will somehow know about it. And once everybody's dead, you will rejoice on spirit level and see all the work that you've done and all the beings that you benefited. And you will come together in this great afterlife party. And suddenly there's 1 million people waiting to thank you for your service. So you may never know that you're a spiritual teacher, and well known at that, but you are. So don't feel like it's just you in your head, because it's never just you in your head. There's nothing that you can do today that is not exposed to the collective, vibrationally exposed. We've already reached a vibrational environment within which transparency is king. So we might still hold up on our very personal consciousness level, we might still hold up the barriers up. I don't know what you're thinking right now. We might still pretend that's the case. But environmentally, vibrationally speaking, that's no longer the case. Everything is lifted. The veil has been lifted. This means that everything you do is available to everyone else for all of eternity. Don't be ashamed. Don't try to contain yourself. Like I said, it's never been just you and your head. It's always been you and your service to planet Earth. So feel empowered in that way. Don't feel stuck, because you're not stuck. You're being of service. You're helping. You're working on the last few fragments that represent an old collective consciousness that cannot fully move into the new world as it stands. And so we're all cleaning up. It's like one dirty vibrational room, and we're all, after a party, a big party of millennia of warfare and vibrational mess. But now everyone, at least those that are conscious, to be conscious of their struggle and to be able to navigate it, at least to some extent. We are the cleaning crew, and that's quite all right, because we will inherit this earth, no matter if we fail or succeed in cleaning up everyone else's mess. But we'll try our best. We'll go as far as we can. We'll get as many with us as we can. You've already made it, so you're just being of service. You're just sticking your hands out into the old earth. Come, let me remove this from your path. Let me make it easy on you. You still have to walk this way, but let me make it easy on you. Let me make it conscious to you. Let me enlighten you so that you know not to run in that direction, but to actually walk towards the light. Does this make sense? Does this resonate as potentially true in your own life? Good. So be proud of yourself. That's a very underestimated quality in spirituality. I feel proud of myself so many times. Even more opposition, you got this. And then making it through. And then I'm so proud of myself yet again, and yet again, and yet again. Be proud of yourself. It's a good quality. Don't be afraid that it will trigger your ego. It's good to trigger your ego. The quicker it will disappear. The quicker it will relax itself. If you suppress it all the time, it will always be there, lurking, controlling your thoughts from the shadows of your being. Expose it. Be proud. Feel better than everybody else every once in a while. See how that feels. Bring consciousness into that experience. What does it feel like to be superior to everyone else? What does it feel like to feel inferior to everyone else? Same question, really. Feel into these things that make up this comparative mechanism that we call the ego effect. Bring light to it. Bring freedom to it. Let it express itself. If you let it express itself in a safe environment where you just hold the space for it and you feel the feelings without killing someone that's in your way or stealing something from someone because they have it and you think you don't, but just letting it arise in the space. Letting the full ego effect come about. What do you really want? Do you want to be on stage? Do you want to talk to a million people? Do you want to drive the fastest car in the world? Do you want to have the most money out of everyone? Let these thoughts come up and own them, feel them, so that they can clarify themselves, so that they can become pure, they can become allies instead of distractions and negative shadow sides of you. Bring it all out into the light so that you can use all of that desire, all of that passion for power to the advantage of everyone, for everyone's best interest.